Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GRP. Back at it again on a Sunday and ready to go after UFC Winnipeg. What up, Antoine? Welcome back. Appreciate you for being in here. My Sunday has been okay, not too bad. Just getting through it. Went by too fast, but other than that, man, we're just here to get it done. What's up, 78 Northwest? Appreciate you for jumping in. Thanks for coming back. Yeah, so we're just ready to talk about some UFC Winnipeg. I mean, it wasn't a bad card, honestly. I would say I don't know why my hat feels like it's on like super crooked. Might just be the shadow. Anyway, Braves are winning at the top of the 8th inning right now. Oh, nice. Thanks for the update. Appreciate that. Yeah, so the card was not it was not that bad, actually. I wouldn't say it was well, I mean, it was pretty damn good, actually. There was some good. What up, Infinity? There was some good finishes. I mean, the main card only had 2 finishes, but the fights were good throughout the card. So yeah, I mean, I was thinking that maybe I shouldn't act like it was a great card, but it kind of was a pretty good card. It wasn't that bad. Yeah, solid card. Yeah, for sure. We had a 1-round banger and a draw. Yeah, the draws, man. Isn't this the second week in a row we had a draw? But it's kind of weird. But yeah, I mean, we started off great. The prelim started off good. And yeah, even the fights that went to decision were pretty damn good. So yeah, nothing too crazy though. And then we had some RAF, Real American Freestyle Wrestling, happening again. I mean, these guys are basically just taking every ex-UFC fighter, every current UFC fighter, and putting them in as a part of their roster, like to headline all of their matches. And Dana White was kind of asked about that, and he was just like, "Good for them." Didn't seem to care that much, which I mean, I thought he would care a little more, mainly because they're kind of just making their money off the backs of the UFC in a sense, you know what I mean? Like their whole card doesn't just have nothing but ex-UFC fighters or current UFC fighters, but their main events, their main attractions. I mean, maybe that's a smart way to run it. And that shows you the UFC will always be the place to be. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's true. It's just I'm surprised that they're letting them. I don't know. Maybe it's because they got like Ben Askren involved, and stuff like that. They got people involved in RAF that maybe it's just a good partnership, I guess. But it just seems weird because the UFC is not usually the type to co-promote. They're not usually the type to let their fighters go and compete in all kinds of other organizations, you know what I mean? Even if, I mean, especially if it's MMA, but yeah, I mean, the only thing I've heard about it is that they won't let 2 current UFC fighters on the roster, active UFC fighters, wrestle each other. But that kind of doesn't sound like the case now, considering it seems like Arman wants to wrestle Colby Covington. That was kind of what came out Saturday after his match with Uriah Faber. So, and we're going to hit that up here in just a second. That's definitely going to be the first one. What up, Tyler? How you doing? Welcome back. Appreciate you for coming back, Tyler Fish, as usual. And yeah, so there wasn't a whole lot going on this weekend. I mean, I don't know of any other really big events that garnered a lot of attention for the most part, unless you're a super hardcore. And then there was other shit going on, but not too bad, Tyler. Just happy to be here, talk about some MMA, talk about the UFC, and everything else going on in combat sports. So, it's always a good Sunday when I can sit here and talk about this stuff and have a good time and, interact with you guys. Yeah, Chimaev got signed to RAF. There we go. Just another instance of what I was talking about. They're using the UFC talent to headline and bring in the eyes to the matches at RAF. So, I mean, Chimaev's a good one, but yeah, it's like, can we please get Chimaev to fight in the UFC? I mean, I know it hasn't been that long, but he just doesn't fight often enough. It feels like so. I don't know. Love the reverse format you have been doing. Gives people like me a chance to check it out, even if I don't have time for the whole show. Oh, right on, Infinity. I'm glad that's working out for you too. Yeah, I'm trying to, just trying to work things out and see what's the best way to go about it. Because, if you put everything in the very front, like in the very beginning, I feel like people just tune in for the one short thing that they want to tune in for, which is talking about the main event right away. I even thought about doing that, but I feel like at least if we get to the main card and start from the bottom, of the main card and go, I feel like it gets you to the middle of the show, if not like right past the middle. And, you don't have to wait as long, but you also still have to kind of wait a little bit. I mean, I feel like if you're here, have a good balance now. Oh, okay. Right on. Appreciate that. I wasn't sure if you were checking it out because I know you kind of haven't been in the chat for a minute. I'm sure you're busy, life and stuff, but it feels like a minute since you kind of been in the chat. So I was like, oh, wonder what's going on. I meant to ask you too, Infinity, but got busy too. So, but yeah, I'm glad you like it. I'm glad it's working out. I look forward to waking up at 4 a.m. for the Australia card. Yeah, I'm gonna, yeah, I'm hoping that's how that goes. The coasters are great. Yeah, the coasters are awesome. Infinity, I commissioned him on something here. It was pretty cool. He actually brought the idea to me, but it worked out really well. We got some nice coasters because all of the ones I had would stick to the glass and they would fall all the time. So now I've got these. It's got a cool little holder. It's kind of like the other ones I had. These are like individuals, but it's kind of big, and which is dope. I like them. Don't get me wrong. I love them actually. And everybody likes them too that comes in and sees them, but these are good. So I don't have to have those kind of filling up the whole table, but yeah, they're good. I like them a lot. They worked out really well so far, and I like them. So I appreciate that. Bro can't watch the Australia card because the island has a rule where you can't wake up before 7. Holy shit. Oh man. Tyler, where do you come up with this shit? Yeah, so coasters are good, everything else is good. Yeah, and I'm just gearing up, man, because this week it starts the week of rotation going out of town for work. So I'm gonna be down 2 guys here in town. I'll have them, they'll be up in another part of the state. And that causes some issues for me because that means I have way less people here to rely on. The guy that I have here with me is the newest guy we have on our team, and I still can't really let him loose on everything. So it makes it a little more difficult, but he's learning, he's getting there. Oh shit, congrats Infinity, that's awesome, you got a promotion. Hell yeah, congrats man. I'm glad. Do you travel all over the country or Arizona? Just Arizona and New Mexico. We have like 2 or 3 places in New Mexico. So, ooh, look at you moving up the ladder. Good job, Infinity. That's awesome. But yeah, we just travel all over Arizona and then to New Mexico, and that's really it. We don't have anything else anywhere else, thankfully, because travel's good sometimes, but man, yeah, sometimes like times like this where it's gonna get crazy, it's gonna get hectic, and there's a lot going on. Hey, all is good. Appreciate you for jumping in. Thanks for coming back. What's New Mexico like? I don't know, man. Honestly, it's not much for me. Like, we stay in Roswell when we go to one of the places, and the other place we go to is just kind of a very small town. I never get to really go to cool places. I know that people think Roswell's cool, but not when you're there for work. And I don't really usually have a lot of time to go explore, and I have to be careful because, I only have a company vehicle to ride in, so I can't really do a whole lot. But at least I have a vehicle. That's awesome. So yeah, I just do the necessities, and then a lot of times I'm just working on stuff for the podcast or podcasting. So you'll see me out there, not next week. Or not this week, but next week, I will be doing the Thursday show from out of town. So it'll be a different setup. But we'll be here. I don't think since everybody's been active in the chat and really, getting the core viewers that come back all the time, all you guys in there, who I appreciate, by the way. I don't know that I've really been out of town and actually streamed from out of town since all of you have been here with me hanging out every week and every show. So it'll be a little different, but I bring the same everything except for the background. The audio should be good, and I have a traveling setup because I've gone out of town plenty of times. I just it's been a while. So the last one was on the phone and it was clean. Yeah, that's right. The last one was on the phone when I was in Vegas, and that was a split decision, or a split spare the moment decision to do it on the phone. Because I did have my webcam and everything like that, but I decided not to set it all up. I said, you know what, I'm going to do it straight off the phone. I had my mics, I was good to go. And yeah, that one came out good. There's no visual aspect to it, and I couldn't see the chat because it wasn't live. It was just pre-recorded. So yeah, I'll be going live. It'll be like normal. You guys can, interact in the chat and be here live with me. So thanks again for always coming back. You guys make the show fun. I tell you that all the time, but I mean it, and I always want to make sure that I show my appreciation because, it's not often you get to just interact with. It's easy to get on the internet and interact with people if you really want to, but you got to get them to respond and reciprocate the conversation. And doing something like this means that it gives somebody a reason to come and check it out, and if they like it, they stick around like you all have. So I always just like to just pay my respects to that and and say thank you for it. So anyway, also Noctane Smelling Salts, I always got to thank them for the sponsorship, and I'm not even going to try to get anything out of these because they're dead. The man with the plan for the product, he got a little busy, as we all do. So Tyler, oh damn, Infinity, good call. I actually thought about that, but yeah, I'll get it to you, man, don't worry. But yeah, he got a little busy, just like we all do. So I haven't been able to get the new bottle yet, but I will be getting it soon. I just figured the longer it takes to get to me, as long as it gets here before my trip, hopefully I get it this week. That would be awesome because I could use it for my trip out of town for work too. Anyway, appreciate you, Noctane. Scan that QR code, or there's always a link in the description below. You can go check out their website, learn more about smelling salts, and go check out their product, support them, get yourself a bottle, try it out. I promise you, keeps you awake and alert, gives you a quick little boost of adrenaline. You can learn all about it on their website. It's a fun website to watch or to look at as well. So go take a look at that. Appreciate you, Noctane, for the sponsorship, the continued sponsorship. And how much do you usually pay for a bottle? I think it's about $20, I think. And it'll last you it could last you 3 to 6 months, depending on if you take care of it, how often you use it, stuff like that. But I think the different potencies are different prices too. I can't remember specifically. Check out their website though. I promise you, it's a fun one to look at, and it'll give you Infinity's lasted at least 6 months. So it'll give you all the info there. But Into the AM for the win. Oh yeah, I'm always wearing Into the AM, man. That's my thing. I even got the sticker on my laptop. But also, not to get sad or anything, but did you hear about that shooting in Louisiana? 8 kids. No, man. That's why I stay away from the damn. Unless it comes across my feed directly in front of me, or somebody talks to me about it. I don't go searching out the news and stuff because it just it's also Tyler, man. Tyler, I don't know, man. I wonder about you sometimes. You come up with some crazy shit that sometimes. I just wonder how the hell you come up with this stuff. It's hilarious, but that's definitely a different kind of energy, like Infinity said. Those are different kind of salts. I do remember when Columbine happened. Yeah, unfortunately, I was around for that. It's crazy. You are creative with the responses, man. You're definitely one of those guys that comes up with stuff quickly. We got Antoine with the questions, and we got you with the crazy the crazy responses to things. Oh man. Anyway, yeah, let's get to it, man, because we got some stuff to talk about. So yeah, we'll get to it right here. And we'll start with RAF. Like I said, unfortunately, the Dvalishvili and Cejudo fight, here we go. Always talking about fights, you know, but it's actually the match, the wrestling match that was supposed to happen didn't happen because Cejudo got injured, I guess. But you know, he still had Tsarukyan versus Faber. Let's see, and Tsarukyan did get the win by tech fall. So I thought Henry was too old to compete anyway. They wearing a leotard. Oh, no, man, it's the singlet, man. It's the, you know, it's that the normal apparel for wrestling. Laguna Goon Beach lost a great lifeguard. What the hell? Yeah, nut huggers. Yeah, so Tsarukyan got the tech fall, and yeah, I mean, I'm kind of not surprised about that one. And then there was a few tech falls going on in here. There was a pin, a bunch of decisions. Lance Palmer got the decision over Caden Henschel. Jordan Oliver got the decision over Mike Van Brill. Lucas Bird got the decision over Darian Cruz. Had another tech fall, Helen Morales versus Morales versus Alexa Janik, and that was for the championship in the women's division. And then you had a pin. Shamil Sharipov pinned Anthony Kasapi. I think that's how you say it. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't follow all these guys, you know. It's like the interesting thing for me is, like I said, the UFC guys being at the top of the card always. You know, we had two sets of, or two matches here. There was all former UFC fighters, two of them being former champions, wrestling against each other. That didn't get to take place though, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens if they reschedule that and they bring that back with Merab and Henry Cejudo. But yeah, we had Tsarukyan just continuing on his warpath of beating people and freestyle wrestling. So he was supposed, or Colby Covington was supposed to have a match set up with Chris Weidman, but apparently he wants to call that off and just have the match with Tsarukyan because Tsarukyan called him out. Now, they weren't really at odds or going crazy on each other when he called him out. Colby walked out onto the mat and you know, kind of talked on the mic right in front of Arman. So, you know, but like I said, it sounded to me like the UFC wasn't high on letting two active fighters. Now, Colby's not necessarily active, but he's still on the roster. He's not retired. He hasn't been cut. So he's on the UFC roster on a contract. And so is Arman. But Arman hasn't fought in a minute either. You know, he's fought sooner than Colby has. But yeah, he says he wants to beat Colby. So we'll see if they actually allow that to happen. We'll see if Raf can actually get that going. But on the way, I guess the biggest news on the way to RAF 8 was whether Arman was going to make it or not, because he had some issues with the plane, like I was talking about on Thursday. So I wanted to just kind of show you guys what was going on there. And, you know, Arman kind of took it as a laughing moment when, you know, you can't really fuck around on a plane too much, regardless of who you are, because you will get kicked off, or you could get arrested even, you know. So it looked like he was really annoying some people on this plane. But, you know, Arman's just a wild boy. And I like I said before, I'm surprised he's not flying private. He actually, I know Antoine talked about how expensive it is to fly private, and those are facts for sure. But Arman winds up on a private plane, it looks like, after the fact. There you go. Did you see Arman on the PJ with Nina Drama again? Yeah. So he gets on a PJ anyway. So it always winds up happening for him one way or the other, and I'm surprised he doesn't just find ways to make that happen every time, because then he has the issues with the plane stuff. But here's a bit of what was happening. We had a video from someone, on the plane, showing him getting escorted off the plane. As you can see, he's just kind of like laughing it up a little bit and walking off the plane. Then you get a bit of an explanation, simply because someone on the team was on their phone during takeoff, and the second person opened the table. It was because of that Arman and his two friends were kicked off the plane that was headed to the raft tournament. So that's what happened there. And then we had Arman being a fool, messing with.
I gotta tell everybody.
Yeah, we do.
I cannot be tomorrow there.
So he was saying he was trying to make a video. I don't know if he was live or if he was just recording a video saying, "Hey, I'm not going to be there tomorrow. I'm getting kicked off the plane." But, you know, you could see that the flight attendant or whoever that is was trying to get him off the plane, and she was clearly annoyed because he's just ignoring her, telling her, "Hey, I gotta tell everybody I'm not going to be there." And even the person behind the camera is like, "Yeah, we got to tell them." But it's like, bro, you don't have to tell them while you're standing in the doorway of the plane. So I understand where the worker is coming from, but also, you know, if you're getting kicked off the plane, you want to kind of do like, "Hey, look at what they're doing to me" type shit, right? Especially if you feel like maybe it was kind of petty, which it sounds like it might have been petty. Maybe they were just being obnoxious, annoying, not following directions. You know, just because you're a UFC fighter or well-known on social media doesn't fucking make you exempt to the laws or the rules of any sort. So sometimes these guys and girls get entitled because they're influencers and they think they have a lot of pull. They're like, "Oh, I'll just, put it on my page and you guys will get a lot of bad press." And it's like, most of the time they don't give a shit unless you're like somebody crazy. But even then, but yeah, planes are federal. Like Infinity said, I've definitely never been kicked off a plane. That's for damn sure. Thankfully, I don't ever want to mess with any of that, man. I'm not trying to mess with that at all. I do what I got to do, and I follow the rules because I don't need any of that drama. I am no influencer of any sort. I am not well known by any means, and I have zero pull. So, yeah, I didn't really have a chance to travel on a plane before TSA. Did I? I guess I did. I did once. I went to San Diego, and I went to. Was it? No, that was after. The first time. Oh, here you go. Quick, since we're on the topic, this is crazy. I didn't know what it was like to be on a plane before the incident. I don't want to say it because shit gets weird on YouTube, but I will tell you that at the end of September of that same year was the first time I ever got on a plane, which sounds insane. Like, why the fuck would I do that, right? My wife, back then girlfriend, we went on a trip to Vegas, my first trip ever to Vegas, my first time ever on a plane, because she wanted a trip for her work. And we had a great time, but it was crazy because it was being on a plane the first time within the same month that happened. So that's insane. I don't know why the hell how that happened to be crazy, but I remember when people could smoke on planes. I remember hearing that people could smoke on planes, but yeah, Vegas was nuts. Vegas was crazy for me when I first went. Yeah, we had a lot of fun, and we actually weren't even fully legal to drink, and we got to drink. A lot of circumstances that happened. That was a really long time ago, so it is what it is. But yeah, Vegas was way different than it is now back in 2001 for sure. But yeah, that was the first time I ever got on a plane, so I don't even know what it was like. Before that, I had never gotten on a plane before that. So were there any UFC stuff out there back then? You know what? I don't know, because I really wasn't into UFC back then. That was a really long time ago, and I didn't get into it until a few years later. So I wasn't really paying attention with that. Pawn Stars, main. Yeah, so when you land in Vegas, you see the UFC branding everywhere in the airport. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't really pay that much attention. I mean, it's there, but it's not like all over the place, I guess. Yeah, I did hear about the UFC back in the late 90s. Yep, I definitely did. I just wasn't that into it until way later because I was still into baseball back then, and I was way younger. So anyway, you know, you have Arman just acting a fool. You can see him joking around, holding his phone up, trying to make the video.
Yeah, we do.
So yeah. And the lady's just clearly upset. She's like, all right, I'm about sick of this shit. Anyway, that's Arman for you, man. I mean, and then he made it to the match and this happens. He takes Uriah Faber down off the mat, off the stage, almost hits Chael Sonnen, knocks over, as you can see, almost knocks over that monitor. So I'm just like, man, what in the hell? Yeah, Faber was fine. It didn't seem like anybody got injured, but that's the type of shit that the UFC's like, this is why we can't get this fool to, you know, this is why we can't get him to be reliable for a title, because he's doing shit like this, getting kicked off planes, just unnecessary attention, acting a fool. And, you know, possibly, I mean, he could have injured himself badly. He could have injured Faber badly, but Faber's not the one fighting in the UFC currently. So it's tough, man. It's tough. And this is some of the shit and that the UFC looks at and says, hey, listen, we can't count on him for these big events, because if he's out here doing this crazy shit, maybe if he had a fight lined up, he wouldn't be doing it. But we saw what happened. You know, he almost got a fight canceled because he headbutts his opponent. Connor type shit. Yeah, that's true. And just like I would tell Connor, get your fucking shit together. My God. You know, this is one of the reasons why when I did my awards, I gave the Get Your Shit Together award to Arman, because while he looks like he's got his shit together because he's very popular in the public right now, and he should definitely be in line to get a title shot next, if not very soon, the UFC just can't seem to commit to it with him because of the fact that he does this kind of crazy wild shit, and they just don't know. They don't know if they can count on him. They don't know if he's gonna do something crazy and get things canceled, and then they're stuck in a predicament. So who knows? Maybe they'll get past it. Maybe once he becomes champ, he'll stop, you know, he'll relax a little bit, or he gets even crazier. Who knows? You know, Connor didn't really slow down.
What's happening with you, man?
But yeah, what's happening with you, man? Get your shit together. So I don't know, man. I don't know about Arman, but he's definitely entertaining and he's definitely popular. So that's why Raf keeps putting him on those cards, because he's dominant over there, and they're waiting to, you know, see who's going to be able to beat him. And you know, he's keeping active by doing these types of things, but you know, when's he going to get back in there to actually fight for the title? What's going to happen? Who knows? And is the UFC going to get sick of dealing with him and his shit? Or, you know, do they see his popularity and his skills as too valuable, and they just keep putting him on ice until they decide it's the right time? I don't know. But he's got to chill a little bit, I think. Remember Blockbuster? Oh yeah. Yeah, Blockbuster was a shit back in the day. So let's get to this UFC Winnipeg card and talk about, you know, what happened over in Canada for the UFC Winnipeg fight night. Obviously, Canada, we're gonna have a decent amount of Canadians on that card. And as far as Canadians that were successful, there was 1, 2, 3, let's see, 3 and 1, and then 3 and 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 3, 4 and 4, 4 and 5. The Canadians went on a losing streak, so that's a damn shame. Or not a losing streak, but they had a losing record in this Winnipeg card with 5 losses but 4 wins for the Canadians that were on the card. So of course we will get to all of them. How did you watch any WrestleMania? I never really did. I only watched it at times that other people had it on or something like that, but I never really paid attention to it. Even to this day, the only way I know about any of it is because Yeah, because if anybody talks about it or anything, that's the only way I know. You know, Ariel Helwani talks about wrestling a lot, and that's the only way I know some of the stuff. Some of the streamers I watch talk about it and are involved in wrestling of some sort. So yeah, that's the only way I know about any of it. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't pay any attention to any of it. Yeah, so Burns versus Malott, pretty decent card. Like I said, we only had 2 finishes on the main card, but the decisions were pretty good. And then the prelims started off with a banger. With the finish there, we had a majority draw in the second fight of the prelims, but that was a crazy fight. Couple women's fights that went to decisions. We had some KOs, some submissions, and then some more decisions. So let's get to the card and see. We lost Gilbert last night. Shit was sad, yo. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we're Gilbert Burns. You know, I didn't want to say I didn't know how to say it, because it's like I knew I knew this was a possibility. I didn't know if he was gonna do it right away. But yeah, losing 5 fights in a row, fucking tough, man. It's tough. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I feel like maybe it was time for Gilbert, considering it just seems like he can't put together a win. And he's getting finished in ways that it's just like, man, before it gets too far, it's good to get out of there. So I'm glad. I'm glad that he called it quits, but we'll get to it here. Let's start from the bottom of the main card. Goes into the Hall of Fame. I think it has a possibility for sure. But I don't know. It's like how many Chimaev fights do they want in there? You know what I mean? Because he's had a couple. So I guess it just depends on what ranking of stuff that they give that fight in particular, I guess, as far as compared to the rest of the Chimaev fights that he's been involved in. So it was definitely a great one though, and it has possibility to be in there. If they feel like that's the only way to really get Burns in the Hall of Fame, I guarantee that would be how they do it, just to give him a spot that's well deserved in the Hall of Fame as one of his fights going down, because he did put up a damn good fight against somebody like Chimaev, and that was probably where he was really at the point where we knew it was going to be over soon, but he did well. So there was still a little bit of hope there, I guess. Hey, what's up, Gabe? Welcome in. Appreciate you for jumping in. UFC 273 was so stacked looking back on it. It really was. It really was. Yeah, so we'll start with the first card on the main, or first fight on the main card. We had Gage Young versus Thiago Moises, and Thiago started off pretty strong, man. I feel like it was a good back and forth fight. You know, it was a close one. The split decision win went to Gage Young, 29-28, 28-29, and 29-28 for the scorecards. But Moises, he did well in the beginning, mixing in the grappling and trying to slow the fight down a bit, you know, not letting it get away from him. But Gage just took over after a bit, like halfway through the fight at least. He kept, you know, he was doing well in the scrambles, kept things competitive everywhere. It turned into one of those fights that like neither guy really fully took over. Moises was still getting some shots in on Young even at the end of the fight, but as you can see the damage in that bottom picture of Thiago Moises and his face. Young's activity was just cleaner, and his footwork and his movement made the difference down the stretch. And it was just one of those fights where Moises couldn't put anything together after a little while. And while he was picking and landing some clean shots here and there, Young was getting the best of him and was able to get the biggest win of his career against a UFC vet. For Moises, you know, another frustrating loss for him in a close fight where he could clearly have, you know, gotten the upper hand if he was able to take control. And the Anaconda choke was so close, man. It was, Andre, for sure. Welcome in. Appreciate you for jumping in. you know, it was a close fight regardless, as you know, judging, you know, you could tell just by the fact that it was a split decision, looking at the scorecards. You know, Young's high output at moments, and Moises just kind of stuck in a rut after a minute, just landed him in the losing column. So unfortunately for him, that puts him at 2 losses in a row. He lost his last fight by TKO to Jared Gordon. So that's 2 losses in a row for him, and it gives Gage Young a nice win over a UFC vet who, you know, wasn't the easiest of opponents, but Young beat Mahashate in his second fight ever in the UFC, and that gave him his first UFC win, and now he's got 2 in a row. So looking good for the youngster, and we'll see what he has coming up next. Maybe he can get a more clear and decisive win in his next fight, but yeah, good win for him there. And that brings us over to the women. Jasmine Jasudavicius, of course, gives us what did I do here? You know what? I messed up the order. I was like, wait a minute, I'm missing a fight. Oh no, I'm not. That's the prelims. Okay, good. I thought I messed up the order. Jasmine Jasudavicius in the second fight on the main card versus Karine Silva. You know, she had a little bit of a tough time with Karine at times. You know, Karine Silva's got some strength, man. She definitely has some strength, and she puts up a good fight. Jasmine is one of those girls though that she just doesn't give up. She grinds it out. It was a battle. All 3 judges had it 29-28 for Jasmine, so you know she lost one of those rounds, but she still got the win. Karine Silva was actually the underdog, but plus 260. Jasmine was the favorite at minus 320. So, you know, I mean, this is kind of what was expected to happen, but Silva had her moments early on in the fight with her striking. She, you know, her hands seemed faster, a bit more of a pop with those shots. But Jasudavicius was, you know, she's disciplined, she's durable, and she stuck to a game plan. She closed the distance and worked the clinch well, and then mixed in, you know, some good takedowns at the right times to slow Silva down. As you can see, Silva, you know, in a lot of crazy positions with Jasmine, but Jasmine was able to overcome it all and, you know, take the commanding position and be able to, you know, stay on top and get the win. So by the second and third rounds, you know, the pace and physicality of Silva just, you know, started to wear out, and the biggest thing was the positional dominance of Jasmine. She was able to get, you know, like I said, get the dominant position. And that's good for her because Karine Silva is not an easy one to do that against. Like I said, she's a stronger woman, and Jasmine just stuck in there and persevered through all of the adversity and was able to get the win. So it's a solid win for Jasmine on her home turf, and showing she can, you know, kind of neutralize a dangerous finisher. And, you know, Silva just has to take a step back now and see what she can clean up to be able to get wins against opponents like Jasmine. So she's always dangerous, but when she can't dictate the range, she's, you know, she struggles, she gets frustrated, and you know, she has potential, but when Jasmine doesn't want to give up, and even when she's in bad moments, she's able to turn it around, and she perseveres through it all and gets the win. And that's kind of the grinding type fighter she is. You think Jasmine is in her prime or slowing down? I think she's like at the you know, like the last portion of her prime, especially with her age. But, you know, she's not showing a lot of signs of slowing down, but that can happen overnight sometimes. It can be from one fight to the next that the age catches up and you come up against a younger fighter who's faster, stronger, and can think quicker on their feet. So but Jasmine has a lot of potential with the way that this division looks right now. So I think that she definitely has potential to keep, you know, climbing her way up the ranks and find herself with a title shot sometime in the near future. But like I said, she's 37 years old. This gets her away from the loss that she suffered to Manon Fiorot in the first round due to strikes. So, you know, Karine Silva is another fighter who's a little bit similar to Manon, where she's got some power and her striking is pretty decent. But this time Jasmine was able to get the win. So that's good for her looking at it, considering she lost to Manon in her last fight. And this puts Karine Silva down to 2 losses in a row. But she lost her last fight to Macy Barber, who's a tough opponent as well. So we'll see what comes up next for both of them. Karine Silva is going to definitely have to do something to get her way out of this 2-fight losing streak so that she doesn't drop 3 in a row. And as for Jasmine, I'm sure she'll get a pretty solid opponent on her next time out. So that brings us back to the men, and we get to Jai Herbert versus Mandel Nalo. Man, and it seemed like a lot of people were high on Nalo. He was the slight favorite at -170 to Jai Herbert's +140, slight underdog in the lightweight division. With Nalo coming out of the Contender Series and looking good in that fight he had there. A lot of people thinking that he's the younger, somewhat younger guy. Wait, is he the younger guy? 36, I think. Never mind. I think Herbert is actually 1 year younger. No, he's 1 year older. So he's only younger by a year. But Jai Herbert's been in the UFC for a minute, and a lot of people were just thinking that Nalo coming in was going to maybe be able to get the win away from Jai Herbert, but Jai wasn't having any of that. It was a first round finish, 2 minutes and 5 seconds in. Jai Herbert's able to get the TKO win. One of the quickest fights on the card. Nalo actually came out kind of hot in his UFC debut, and Herbert, early on looking like he might get a good finish. Nalo was looking like he might get a good finish early on. He did rock Herbert in the beginning, but Herbert was he was not there to get knocked out. And he showed that quickly. He was able to turn it around, and he flipped the entire thing on its head and was able to get the big win. So you could see landing some good strikes there on the chin of Nalo. Midway through the first round, Herbert was able to land those the counter right hand, and he dropped Nalo and then followed it up with some ground and pound to get that TKO win. So yeah, quick one there. Jai Herbert coming out with the big win. And he got hurt early, so he fought through some adversity, but showed that he was still there to win. And now that puts him at 4-5 in the UFC. He was coming off a loss by decision to Chris Padilla. This was one of the best first round bangers ever. Yeah. I mean, I was actually really excited watching this fight, to be honest. It was a good fight, and I was glad to see it, especially, the women's fight. It's not like it was horrible, but it was a 3-round decision. It was a decent fight, a little back and forth and stuff like that, but we're so used to the women fights going to decision. We were, most of the time you kind of just sit there and play it out, wait for it to happen. So to jump out of that from that first fight of the night, that was pretty exciting, to yet another decision of the women that wasn't as exciting but still decent. And then you get to this finish, a quick one in the first round, and that takes us to the next fight, where we get to the co-main event of Charles Jourdain versus Kyler Phillips. And I feel like most people were on the Kyler Phillips train here, thinking that the younger guy for sure in this one was going to get the win, but Charles Jourdain was not ready to give that up on his home turf. And Kyler Phillips, they're the same age. What the hell? See, I keep thinking because Charles Jourdain's been in for a minute that he's younger, but he's not. They're both 30 years old, which is crazy. But this puts Kyler Phillips down at 3 losses in a row, with Charles Jourdain getting this win by submission. I'm sorry, by decision. What the hell am I saying? Yeah, he gets the unanimous decision win over Kyler Phillips. This puts Phillips at 3 losses in a row. So yeah, but he lost to Rob Font, Vinicius Oliveira, and now Charles Jourdain. All decent opponents, all tough opponents. They did get the fight of the night bonus for this one, and that's what tells you, it was a pretty damn good fight. And Charles Jourdain, he's always involved in a great fight, You always see these flying knees from him. You always see the high kicks coming from him. You always get some good action photos and some good, good strikes landing from him for that highlight reel. Oh, sorry, man. Yeah, Antoine, I didn't even see. No, yeah, it's an old fashioned. It's my typical drink, my signature drink, the drink I always have. But yeah, so it was good for Jourdain, being that he was in Canada. That's what you want to see out of somebody like him, getting the win in his home turf. It was it was a chaotic fight, high paced. Charles Jourdain always involved in fights like that. You could see the damage he put on Kyler Phillips, and it gets them the fight of the night. So you definitely wanted to sit there and watch all 3 rounds of this one, considering how it turned out. Phillips started strong. He leaned on the wrestling a bit. He got multiple takedowns and some solid control in the first round. But as the fight went on, Charles Jourdain takes over. Why is it called that? An old fashioned? Actually, because it's technically just, like whiskey / bourbon with like some bitters and, the typical old fashioned is just that, like whiskey, bourbon, bitters, and sometimes a squeeze of an orange or cherry and maybe a little cherry juice. I put a few little extra things in there. Mine's a mixture of 3 different shots, 2 shots of bourbon, 1 shot of liqueur 43, and then 2 different types of bitters, some cherry juice, some agave. Oh, usually they put like either a sugar cube or simple syrup. I skip the sugar part, and using agave as sweetener is better for you, kind of. So being that it's an alcoholic drink, it is what it is. But yeah, I do make them for every show. I do have them all the time, and we have them for the watch party too. So, and they are damn good. They're smooth, and they'll creep up on you, especially if you're not used to drinking, a lot of bourbon, because it's 3 shots with every one you have, and there's not a whole lot of other stuff mixed in, so it's a pretty strong drink, but it's a good sipper. And this is my favorite drink. I will get this everywhere I can. I try them everywhere I go if they have them. I don't mind vodka. That's probably my second favorite thing to have mixed into stuff. No, I don't drink Jim Beam. I drink, my favorites are Buffalo Trace, which is what that sign is right there. And then I like Basil Hayden a lot. And then if you get into the pricier ones, there's like Stag. Eagle Rare is one of my really big favorites. That's kind of pricey. I've had Everclear. I've had Moonshine. Those aren't fun. Those aren't fun. We used to use Everclear for jungle juice that we would make back in the day. And as far as moonshine goes, yeah, I've had that plenty of different times. The generic type of moonshine and the legit type of moonshine, as well as Mexican moonshine, which is a goddamn nightmare. So yeah, stay away from that. Bacanora, I think, is what it's called. It's tough. You can drive a car off Everclear. What the fuck? It tastes like ass. It's like stupid. What was Everclear like? Take me back. Dude, it's just rubbing alcohol, basically. I almost would rather drink rubbing alcohol than that. Drinking it straight is stupid. Mixing it in with shit is okay, I guess, for like jungle juice type shit, like I said. But yeah, I don't know. Charles Oliveira Jourdain, he's the best bantamweight. Oliveira. Like as soon as you tried it, what was the occasion? I don't know. I don't even know. I probably don't even remember the night I tried it, because that's how bad it is for you. It's not good at all. You can light your breath on fire after drinking that shit. So I only took a shot of it like once or twice, and yeah, it was bad. Yeah, you don't really remember much. The moonshine, I don't remember exactly either. I've had too many different drinks too many different times. Honestly, my brain, that's probably why my brain can't remember shit all the time. I drank too much alcohol in my day. That's why now I just sip on this and I have a couple and I'm good to go, and that's it. But I love it. It's a good drink. Do you make the moonshine from scratch? No, I've had some that somebody made from scratch, and it wasn't great. It wasn't great. Doesn't taste great, but it's not supposed to. It's supposed to just fuck you up. So I've tried a whole lot of different alcohols. Yeah, I like to have a little bit of flavor, but you know, oh man, I used to be able to handle a ton of shots. These days, I can handle a lot of it. I just don't want to. I just don't want to. These drinks are strong. Like I said, they have about 3 shots mixed in, and there's not much else mixed in with it. So I sip on that, and I'm good to go. I could probably do, yeah, I don't know. In a drink wise, I can probably do double digits in shots, but shots straight up, I don't really do them that often anymore. What's up? Just left the fair. Sip some fruity ass drinks. What up, Tyler Betts? Welcome in. Appreciate you for jumping in again. Just left the fair, huh? Or what fair? Where are you at? Because the fair's going on here for us too. So maybe it's just that time of year. Maybe everybody has the fair at the same time. But yeah, Tyler Betts, haven't seen you in a minute, man. Welcome back in. Appreciate you for coming back. But yeah, Charles Jourdain, Jr. up there was talking about Jourdain with the relentless pace. He definitely has that, man. And he put the hurting on Kyler Phillips, Washington State Fair. Oh, okay, right on. Yeah, so I guess everybody kind of has the fairs. Yeah, spring fair. Yep. I guess everybody kind of has a fair at the same time. I'll be doing that at the end of this week for my daughter's birthday. She wants to head out there. So, yeah. And then we'll be celebrating some more come the weekend. But that'll be cool. Barbosa KO was good. I was laughing with joy. So, no. Down here, Infinity. It's literally up the street from me right now. So, we always go to it every year. We haven't gone as much throughout the past years, but it's not the state fair here. It's just the county fair. But it's big here. So, that's why I was asking him, because I'm like, what fair are you going to during the same time? Anyway, Jourdain makes it 3 straight wins, continues his win streak in the bantamweight division. Phillips drops another close decision. It seems like, cardio and consistency kind of cost him the fights recently. But it was a fun fight overall. And they got fight of the night. So that tells you a lot, and that's good. That's good for Jourdain, good for Phillips. They both get big bonuses. Oh, man. Speaking of the drink hitting you, shit, getting the hiccups over here. But we'll move on to the main event, and we'll talk about Mike Malott versus Gilbert Burns. And yeah, this one, shit, man. I mean, Mike Malott was favored minus 275 over the plus 225 underdog in Gilbert Burns. And a lot of people were, a lot of hardcores were thinking that, Gilbert might be able to pull this one out, but I think it's all caught up to him, man. It's all caught up to him. I'm going to start a show company called Air Jordan. Did you mean shoe company? Or that's funny. I like his nickname too. It's pretty sick. And especially because he does the flying knees all the time too. Shoe company. Yeah, I kind of thought that's what you meant. But yeah, you might have some problems with that one. But yeah, he lives up to that name, man. He's catching air all the time and doing big things with the flying attacks. So I got to give him props for that one. He lives up to the name. But Mike Malott, man, looking good here against Gilbert Burns. Now, some might say that's not hard to do with the Gilbert Burns of these days. He was on a 4-fight losing streak, but losing to the biggest of names. Now, whether you want to consider Mike Malott one of those or not, I would say he's not up to the level of Michael Morales in how impressive he is, the way he finishes, but maybe in the skill set, he has the skills to finish Gilbert when Gilbert's been in a lot of wars. I could buy Michael Jordan and still be the richest. It's a tradition for Brazilian MMA fighters to end their career with the Brazilian 10. Aldo Nogueira, Burns, JDS Oliveira, even Moises joined the party. Yeah. Oh, shit, man. I mean, he started this losing streak after he beat Neil Magny and Jorge Masvidal for 2 wins in a row, and then lost to Bilal. Lost to Jack Della, both former champions. Sean Brady, contender. Michael Morales, contender. And now Mike Malott, who might be a contender here pretty quick. So 5 losses in a row. Only 2 decisions, and the rest were TKOs. So yeah, it's just tough, man. But it always gets to the 3rd round for him. You know, the TKO win to Jack Della was in the, or the TKO loss to Jack Della was in the 3rd round. He did lose to Mike Morales in the 1st round. That was his last fight, but he went to the 3rd round with Malott here. And, you know, it was just, fuck, it's kind of tough because you hoped for Burns to be able to maybe pull out the win, because Mike Malott definitely has plenty of opportunities to bounce back from a loss, but it just wasn't there. It just wasn't Gilbert Burns' time anymore. I think it's passed him up, and I think it was smart for him to go ahead and call it a day. Dan and Morales smoked Burns in the 1st. Dan, I'm looking to see. I don't know who do you, Mike Malott represented Cleveland, Ohio. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, Morales definitely got him in the 1st, but he lost to Malott in the 3rd in this fight, and then Jack Della he lost in the 3rd round as well. So those were the 3 finishes in this. Oh, Dan Hooker, got you. I was like, Dan who? Damn, that was way back then. When the fuck was that fight? Cause shit, I'm scrolling. That fight was way back there. Dan Hooker, 1st round. Yeah, that was in 2018. I was just talking about the recent fights, but shit, good on you for remembering that one, Junior. Holy shit, that was way back then. But yeah, I was just talking about his last 5 fights, being that, you know, he was making it to the 3rd round, except for with Morales, making it to decisions and stuff. But, you know, after getting worked like this, even though it was in the 3rd round, you know, with Malott being as composed as he was early on, he used the jab and controlled the distance. He had great takedown defense. It was strong. He kept shutting Burns down in any of the grappling, you know, threats that he put out there. Burns had a bit of success in certain spots, but you could tell that his speed and timing was just not good enough against Malott, and Malott was able to stay in the defensive mode when it came to Gilbert trying to do his normal tactics for his offense. But yeah, by the 3rd round, Malott was just fully in control and landed a clean combination that included a nasty uppercut and a right hand that dropped Burns and led him to the TKO 2 minutes and 8 seconds into the 3rd round. Pretty much the biggest win of Malott's career, regardless of where Burns is in his career, and it extends his win streak to 4 straight, putting him in, you know, in the welterweight mix. You know, he could definitely be getting a title shot or at least a #1 contender spot here in the near future. The Hamzat and Usman fight had me thinking Burns had the punch KO. Yeah, that's the thing about Burns. He's always been that type where you just don't know what you're going to get from him. Are you going to see a highlight knockout reel from him, or are you going to see him in the spot of getting knocked out? You know, and in between he's losing decisions or something. But other than that, it's like, you know, there's war. He had wars, but he was able to put his power on people, but it just wore out. You know, it just wore out. That's the bad part about getting older. And, you know, it sucks for Gilbert because he just never got to that spot where he was able to become a champion. So 5th straight loss for him. He laid his gloves down in the middle of the cage and officially announced his retirement. It was emotional for him, as we would all expect, you know, seeing one of the greats, you know, put the gloves down and hang them up. It's like, you know, it's the end of a long run for him. You know, he was a title challenger at one point in time. He basically fought everyone worth fighting in the 170 division. So the Wonder Boy fight showed how vulnerable he is with competent strikers. Too bad Wonder had no grappling. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, you know, it's just, is he a legend with no belt? I don't know, man. Like I appreciate those questions, but they get tiring. There's so many guys that are good, and everyone's gonna have their opinion, and I teeter-totter back and forth. I respect the shit out of Gilbert Burns. I think he's one of the nicest guys in the UFC, and I think he's got a lot of skills. He was a great fighter. You know, he was a contender for a little bit. He did a lot of great things. He beat a lot of great fighters, and he fought a lot of great fights. But is that you know, is that worthy of calling him a legend? I mean, sure. Is that going to get him in the Hall of Fame? No, it's not going to. So that's why I say that maybe that Khamzat fight will get him into the Hall of Fame with one of his fights, but not as a Hall of Famer, as in for his own sole accolades and accomplishments. I don't know that he's a Hall of Fame fighter, but you know, I'd call him a legend just for the simple fact that he fought for so long and he was, you know, he was successful and you know, to a certain extent, and he's just such a great guy. He held himself up in a high regard to, you know, being a role model for a fighter in the sport, as far as how you should handle things, how you should carry yourself. He's a great family man. He's just one of the all-time good guys. So Khamzat fight was an anomaly for Burns. He's literally never fought like that before or since. Yeah, but you know, sometimes that kind of an opponent like that will bring that kind of shit out of you. So if someone else isn't going to engage with you in the chaotic, crazy way that Khamzat will, and pose those types of threats, you know, when you get the tactician like Mike Malott, technical fighter, and somebody who, you know, maybe game planned a little better than just using sheer strength and ability for grappling and wrestling, and you know, that Khamzat does. Not that Khamzat doesn't have any skill. I just think that he relies a lot on these other things that just carry him through, and he's yet to be proven wrong that works. So, but Malott is definitely more of a technical fighter, and he saw the openings and the downfalls of Gilbert Burns. So he was able to take control and take advantage of all of that and get it done. It just feels weird because Malott seems like he's closing in on his career as well. He turns 35 this year. Yeah, but look at Gilbert Burns. I mean, Gilbert Burns is 39 years old. So, I mean, if you look at the way Gilbert fought and look at how good Mike Malott's been fighting, he could have another 4 years under his belt. I see Malott getting slimed out by, yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that. It's just he's got wins over Kevin Holland, Charles Radke, Trevin Giles. Sure, they're not the highest level of competition, but those are the mid-tier guys that maybe not Trevin Giles, but Charles Radke, Kevin Holland. Those are those guys that, you know, if you beat those guys and then you get a vet like Gilbert Burns and you beat him, that's what gets you on your way. That's what gets you on your way to being able to fight the higher competition to see how you're going to do. So is he going to get better? Will he take a step up in his abilities, or will he falter to the higher level guys and, you know, use it as a learning experience, or will he falter and not be able to bounce back really well against higher level guys and only be able to beat the mid-range to lower level guys? I don't know. That's the question always. So we got to wait and see what kind of a matchup he gets next, and what he does with it, and, you know, how quickly he bounces back from any losses now that he's got 5 wins in a row. We'll see what kind of confidence that puts under him and what it does for him. So I'll be excited to see that. Mike Malott, you know, he looked good in this fight, even though it was against a retiring Gilbert Burns, but it is what it is. Still a win over a higher level vet that you know, is just at the end of his career. So congrats to Gilbert Burns on his successful career. Thank you, Gilbert, for all of the great fights. It was a pleasure fucking meeting him when I got to meet him at the Fan Expo. He's a really, really nice guy, down to earth, makes you feel comfortable, makes it seem like he's happy to meet you, and he's just a great all-around dude, family man. You always see him with his wife and kids, humble as shit, and yeah, I respect the guy a lot. So, Dudinho, thank you for all the great fights. Gilbert Burns, appreciate you. Good luck on the rest of your, you know, the rest of everything else you've got going on, and I'm sure he'll continue coaching or something of that sort. I highly doubt he's, you know, not going to be around. He's been, you know, involved in people's training camps, cornering people and stuff like that. So congrats, Gilbert, on your retirement, and sorry it didn't go your way, but yeah, we look forward to seeing you in the corners for sure from this point on. And here you go, Antoine.
Smoke weed every day.
Just for you. Appreciate it. yeah, so that's it for the main card. Let's move into the co-main. Yeah, I know. I hope he kind of stays out of it. I think he's done for sure. It doesn't feel like there's any question, so hopefully he stays away and maybe, you know, do some grappling or do some RAF or something like that. I could see him doing that, and that'd be perfectly fine, but I don't want to see him in any kind of striking anymore. I just feel like it's past him. So let's get into this prelims and take a look at those before we wrap it up. And we had the first fight of the night, John Giannis versus Jamie Siraj. I still have to watch that Game Bread card. Oh yeah. I never went back and watched it all either, but I watched a lot of the highlights. I think that was worth it. So, but yeah, we had John Giannis versus Jamie Siraj. The underdog, John Giannis, was able to get the win over the favorited by minus 260. Jamie Siraj was the favorite to win this fight, and he lost in the first round. 2 minutes and 43 seconds in, John Giannis is able to drop Siraj and finish him on the ground with some ground and pound, a lot of elbows. Siraj was coming in on his UFC debut, where he had a couple wins coming into the UFC, fighting John Giannis as a favorite, and Giannis is able to get the upset win. He was coming in off of a loss over Austin Bashi by submission in the first round for his first fight in his UFC career. Now he takes it to 1-1. The LeBlanc guy used Bruce Lee's martial art and he got dusted, yo. Yeah. But this was a great win for Giannis. I mean, it was a good showing for the fight too. He just kind of wrecked Siraj, man. He shut down his grappling. He caught him with the right hands repeatedly, and he finished with those nasty elbows in top position in the first round. So one-sided beatdown for Giannis, and it was kind of a striker versus grappler type fight, and the striker definitely got the best of it here, even though he was the underdog. So that was your first fight of the night. It was a great way to start the night in the prelims. And that takes us to the second fight of the night, and the majority draw between John Castaneda and Mark Vologden. And I had forgotten that Vologden was the guy. I remember mentioning that he lost his Contender Series fight, but he got signed to the UFC because that Contender Series fight was a crazy one with Adrian Luna Martinetti. He lost by decision, but it was a crazy fight between him and Martinetti. It was one of those just all-time banger fights, one of the best ones ever in the Contender Series. A lot of blood on both sides, big strikes, just an all-out war, similar to the Josh Hokett and Curtis Blades type fight that we saw last week. And Vologden showed that durability and that that exciting type fight style again in this fight against John Castaneda. I mean, it was a messy fight, and but when it comes down to it, they both put on somewhat of a show. They were both able to land big strikes on each other. The biggest part of this was that Castaneda got a point deducted for repeated groin shots. So that had a lot to do with the draw. You know what I mean? I think Vologden hung in there well. He took a lot of damage, but he kept pressing forward. But I think he might have gotten the loss if it wasn't for the point being taken from Castaneda. So Castaneda might have edged it out, but I still think Vologden showed a lot of heart and obviously durability. So Castaneda needs to watch those low kicks for sure. I'm glad that they took the point. They didn't take it right away though, because like I said, it was repeated groin shots that got that point taken away. So it's one of those things, man. Sometimes, like last week, we saw that they were taking points away quickly for these fouls, and this time, it took a few times before they took the point. But at least they actually did it, because a lot of times we get multiple fouls happening in a fight and they don't take any points. So it's good to see that they're starting to really crack down on that. and maybe that'll stop a lot of those fouls from happening. But either way, you know, decent fight here for the draw, and Vologden seems to always be involved in some crazy fights, and that's going to bring some eyeballs to any time he fights. We'll see how that goes. How do you feel about them taking points? Should it be 1 or 2 fouls? No, I mean, at this point, man, especially with the eye pokes, I think the eye pokes, you should be taking points right away. The low blows, I would say, sure, you can give them an extra warning and you know, call it accidental the first time, but if it happens again, it's over. Take the point. Fence grabs, take the point right away, because you're changing the outcome of the fight. If you grab that fence in any which way, with your feet or with your hand, if you're grabbing that fence, you're taking away a takedown, or you possibly take away a takedown, and we won't ever know if that guy could have taken you down or not because you were holding onto the fence. That's an automatic point. Eye pokes, automatic point. I don't see any reason for you to have your fingers out at all. We've seen too many fights go down the wrong way because of it. The low blows, like I said, doesn't feel good, and it sucks to have that happen, and that could change the outcome of a fight as well. But I feel like if you want to give them an extra warning, fine, but I think at this point might as well throw it in with everything else and just take the points right away. No more giving them, you know, they give them the warning in the back. They say all the time, the fighters always say, the ref said in the back, this is your one and only warning. No low blows, keep your fingers tucked, and you know, don't grab the fence, and you've already been warned. You do it again, you get the point taken away, plain and simple. If they would do that and stay consistent with that, I bet there would be a lot less fouls, but who knows? We could feel it out a little better that way if they were consistent on taking the point right away, but they don't. So seem to be cracking down a little bit lately. We'll see which one winds up happening. The worst violation, I think, is probably the eye pokes, because there's too much damage, man. The eye pokes are definitely the worst, I think, because it changes the outcome of the fight automatically. The person is wincing, they can't see, it affects your vision right away. Sure, you get hit in the nuts, that's gonna hurt, and that's gonna affect you too, but you know, depending on how hard you get hit, I don't know that anything warrants an automatic DQ aside from hitting somebody after the bell purposely, you know, and maliciously, or like a head kick on that seemed kind of purpose. Yeah, something like that, you know, especially like a soccer kick where it's like, there was clearly you thought about it and then did it. Have you ever taken a real nut shot before? I haven't, honestly. Yes, I have, unfortunately. And while it wasn't, you know, purposefully done, it was a straight up nut shot, and it sucked. It sucked a lot. But I've had some friends that have had some things happen that were way worse. So mine was not that bad, but it did still make my stomach hurt for a while, and my nuts hurt for a while too. It's not fun. You don't want to have that happen. And sometimes you just rack yourself in the nuts and you don't even mean to, straight out of just an accident. It's not fun. That's why you got to know somebody kicking at full force. And you know what? I played baseball for so long, and you have a cup on. You get hit in that cup, and you know, most people are like, what the fuck are you crying for? You got hit. You have a cup on. Doesn't matter. That cup goes around and there's edges on that cup. And whether they have some kind of rubber, you know, piece that is supposed to help absorb the shock, that getting pressed in hard because of a baseball coming at you at whatever speed, or a kick at full speed getting, you know, pushing that cup into your body, that hurts. So, and honestly, if for some reason your cup shifts and you get hit in the cup while not to get graphic, but if a nut falls out and you get hit in the cup while that nut falls out, or shifts in the wrong position, holy fuck, does that hurt very badly. So yeah, the cup doesn't always help. It actually hurts you sometimes, but it's better to have it than not have it. So yeah, too much cup talk in there, but yeah, it's just to get the point across. It sucks. So that's why I feel bad for these guys. You know, I get it. If it's a grazing shot, I can understand some people being like, what the fuck, man, that barely even grazed you. Shit still hurts though. But some of these guys play it up a little bit. It is what it is. That's just what happens. But yeah, it sucks. So Moving on back to the women, we had 2 women's fights in a row, and you know, both go to decision. It's kind of what we are used to with them. JJ Aldridge gets the win over Jamie Lynn Horth in this fight. Aldridge was the slight underdog to Jamie Lynn Horth. Horth being the second Canadian on the fight card in the prelims to lose. Siraj was the first, but JJ Aldridge is able to sneak away with this win here. You know, she was the vet, and you know, she showed it. Cleaner striking, controlled the pace, and shut down Horth over the 3 rounds for a unanimous decision. Nothing flashy, but you know, she was efficient, and she showed her veteran status and controlled Jamie Lynn Horth and was able to get the win over her in the women's flyweight division. And then we moved to the women's bantamweight division for the next fight with Melissa Croden representing Canada, getting the win over Daria Zelenzyakova. Whatever her name is. Holy shit. As you can see, we had some blood going on in this one, with Croden grinding out a decision, you know, with the steady pace, pressure and control. Nothing in the highlight category here, but you know, she stayed composed. She clearly outworked, I think her first name is Daria, across all 3 rounds. You know, she was able to show some damage. She worked those elbows in there. There was some blood exchanged, but in the end, Melissa Croden comes out with the win in the women's bantamweight division. And I love what Croden. What did she say? I actually didn't listen to her interview, just because you know, when these 2 women's fights, I did miss them, and I didn't go back. I didn't really have the time to go back and watch every part of it. Melissa Croden is the Malcolm X of MMA. I'm gonna have to go back and listen because I have no idea. What's up, Tua? Welcome back, by the way. Appreciate you for jumping back in. But that brings us back to the men's division, and we get back to the finishes with the fight between Gokhan Sadikam versus Tanner Boser. Tanner Boser making his she took a political stance in Canadian politics or some shit. Oh, got you. Okay, probably nothing I'm interested in then though, but yeah, Sadikam beats Tanner Boser in Tanner Boser's return to the UFC. He hadn't fought in the UFC for a couple years, I think. Yeah, his last fight in the UFC was in 2023, so it's been a few years. He got a win, but went out and fought at UAE Warriors for 1 fight, and then came back to the UFC to fight Gokhan Sadikam, and suffered a 2nd round TKO loss to Sadikam. He caught him with the straight right, dropped him, as you can see in that top picture, and then follows it up with some ground and pound for Sadikam. You know, after that long layoff for Boser, he returns to the UFC and gets stopped in the 2nd round. But Sadikam, you know, he has legit power. You know, he gets to finish in the 2nd round here, which is, you know, a tough look for Tanner Boser, but you know, it's kind of a breakout moment for Sadikam. It you know, gets him a good win over a guy who's fought in the UFC before, and Sadikam gets his first UFC win in his debut against Tanner Boser. So that brought us back into the finishes. Melissa, power to the people, Croden. The fighter that slaps the shit out of Trump in the UFC is going to be the next Muhammad Ali. Holy shit. Oh, man. Anyway, we got another finish right after this one with Robert Valentin versus Julian LeBlanc. And yeah, Julian LeBlanc being another Canadian along with Tanner Boser to make up for the 4 Canadians losing on the Canada card. But Robert Valentin, he gets the submission by rear naked choke in the 1st round, 2 minutes and 22 seconds in. Julian LeBlanc was making his UFC debut, but Valentin wasted no time. You know, locks up the submission in the 1st round and makes LeBlanc look like he's completely out of his depth. And, you know, just kind of welcomed him into the UFC. I can't talk. With a quick finish, you know, and that submission by rear naked choke. Valentin was very emotional in his post-fight, you know, interview in the cage. He just talking about his mom passing away and stuff like that. What kind of sunscreen, man? You see this color? I'm brown. I may get a little bit of a shade or two darker brown, but I don't really burn. So yeah, sunscreen is for different people, I think. I'm light brown. Yeah, man, I think you're asking the wrong people here for sunscreen. Oh shit. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's tough. That sun though, man, honestly, in the AZ summers, oh shit. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I burn too for sure. It's just not often. I usually just get darker and that's it. But yeah, some people burn a little easier. I do get a sunburn depending on you know, depending on how much I'm out there. I've been burnt when surfing. Oh damn, you surfing? That's cool. Yeah, so you know, when I go out and play golf and shit, it's like that's what I do these days. I played golf yesterday, so it was, you know, it was in the high 80s, low 90s yesterday. It wasn't too bad, but yeah, getting sunburned does suck, and the sun is crazy out here. You know, we get above 100 all the time, but yeah, it's hasn't been crazy yet, but it's getting there. So yeah, the sun, I mean, we probably should be using sunscreen more than I do, but I don't that often. So anyway, Robert Valentin gets the win over Julian LeBlanc, and you know, emotional post-fight speech or whatever, but good for him on that. He was happy to get that win. That puts him at 1-3 in the UFC. That was his first UFC win, so he finally got to get that post-fight, you know, speech and stuff. So I think that's why he was able to, you know, that's why he got emotional. It was 3 losses in a row for him in the UFC, so he finally gets his first win over a guy making his UFC debut. You know, that's tough, but at least he was able to get a first round finish, and that gives him a 25k bonus just because, you know, he got a finish. That's how it goes. Super hot in Atlanta. We get really cold and really hot. 14 degrees out of some night. Damn, the back of my knees was fried. Oh, that's bad. When you get a sunburn so bad you can't bend a leg or an arm, that's for sure bad. All right, Infinity, appreciate you. Thanks for jumping in. Take it easy. I'll talk to you soon, I'm sure. Who let Matt LeBlanc in the UFC? How do you all think Bruce Lee would have done in the UFC as a 135? Fuck, man, I don't know. I think he might have been okay in the earlier versions of the UFC these days. I don't know that I mean, he would definitely throw some people off with that the kind of fighting style he had, but I don't know that he would do super well. I don't think he would do super well these days, but maybe back in the day he would have done all right. So anyway, this is getting to the last fight in the prelims before we got to that main card that we went over. Bruce would have had a run like Dominic Cruz. UFC 1 through 40, he would have been a champion, more than likely. Yeah, for sure. Getting to that last fight though, it was a great one, man. A great one. Fucking holy shit, I was happy with this fight. Marcio Barboza gets the win over Dennis Bazooka, and I like Bazooka, but you know, Barboza comes in and just fucking put together some crazy ass combinations, man. Like I was like, oh shit. That's just kind of what was going through my head as I was watching him put together these combinations. You know, he starts Bazooka with one punch knockout, but like I said, he put together great combinations before that. It took him just a minute 20 seconds in the first round. It's the 5th straight first round KO win for him. So you know, he's making a splash in the UFC for his debut, and that puts him at 1-0. Before this, you know, it's the 5th one in a row. He had all first round finishes, the 4 fights leading into the UFC, including his Contender Series fight. First round finishes all by TKO, and yeah, spanning anywhere from 1:20 to 4 minutes and 14 seconds. Where did Barbosa come from? Contender Series, man. And he was in LFA before that. So he's 27 years old too, so kind of right at his prime right now. You know, maybe he didn't get here earlier, but he's definitely here at the right time. I think he's in his prime, and he hasn't lost since 2022, which is the TKO loss for him there. But man, he's got a lot of TKO wins, 15-2 in the KO TKO column, 2-0 by submission, 1-0 by decision. He's only had 1 fight that hasn't been finished, whether he wins or loses, which is crazy. I wonder how Bruce would have implemented grappling. That's why I think he would have had a similar run to Dominic. What's the prime age for UFC in your opinion? I think 27 to 32, maybe even 26 to 33, if you want to extend it out a little bit. But it does vary on division for sure. But I think that's a good sweet spot. I think when you get to about 26, 27, and you've been fighting at least in your 20s, you know, for a few years, you get to know a few more things by the time you hit about 26 or 27, and it starts really sinking in, and then that'll carry you through. You know, when you get to your mid 30s, it gets a little rough depending on what weight class you're in, but I think in your early 30s and late 20s is like the best time. Josh Van and Tyra are the new prime age. Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, this was a great win for Barbosa, coming in and making his UFC debut with a big win like this against Dennis Bazooka, who, you know, it's not like he's had like the craziest career, but he's had a few fights in the UFC at this point. He's 1-4, so this puts him at a 2-fight losing streak. He got a win with a bonus against Connor Matthews in his in 2024 when he won that fight. He lost to Francis Marshall by decision, and now lost to Mauricio Barbosa by TKO in the first round. So the smaller heavyweights are the vibe now. Yeah, pretty much that's what it seems like. But Barbosa gets a performance of the night bonus, so 100K bonus for him, plus that 25K for the finish, plus whatever he's getting paid. So Barbosa comes in with a big money making night for himself. Yeah, the prelims were pretty finish heavy, man. You know, it slowed down with a couple decisions in here and there, but for the most part, we had some good finishes, and yeah, some good new blood showing up in the UFC with some violent fights and some promising careers looking like coming up. So Barbosa and Saudi Khan look like they might be real problems coming up for people in their division, and a few vets and debuting guys with some harsh reality checks. So decent undercard here, decent card overall, and I think that we're on a good streak right now for the UFC. So I hope it continues. As far as definitely beautiful violence, I like that. As far as the fight wheel predictions, a little better this time. We went 3-2. Thiago Moises lost, so that's one loss there. Jasmine Jasdavicius with the win, we got that one. Jai Herbert with the win, we got that one. Mike Malott with the win, we got that one. That puts us at 3-1. And then of course Kyler Phillips gets the loss against Charles Jourdain, and that puts us at 3-2 for the fight wheel predictions. Barbosa is a technician for sure, man. I was impressed by those fucking combinations he was throwing, and then landing the big powerful shots. It's fucking awesome. It's awesome, and I'm excited to see his next fight for sure. So yeah, 3-2 for the fight wheel predictions. Totally random with the fight wheel. You know how it goes. But I'm glad to see that it did a little better this week as opposed to the past couple weeks. It hasn't done well at all. So that's it, man. That's it for UFC Winnipeg. And next up we have what do we have coming up? The next fight card is Brady versus Buckley. Wait, what? Why does it say Sterling versus Zalal? That's the fight. Maybe that was, what the hell? They have this all messed up here. Let me go. I want to get the legit one. So let me go to the actual site and take a look real fast at what we have coming up. Yeah. Grade the card 1 to 10. For this one, I give it a solid 7. Thanks 78 Northwest. Appreciate you for jumping in and coming back like always. Eljo versus Yusuf. Yeah, for sure. And we're still on for the 4 a.m. in Australia. Yeah, as for right now, yes. We'll see if anything changes by that time, but we'll see. But as far as next week, yeah, it's Sterling versus Zalao. They had it on weird on the other one. Rafa Garcia versus Alex Hernandez in the co-main. Davey Grant versus Adrian Luna Martinetti. Oh yeah, the fight that Vologden was in the Contender Series. Montel Jackson versus Ione Barcelos, and Norma Dumont versus Jocelyn Edwards. Marcus Buchecha versus Ryan Spann. And as far as the prelims go, there's some decent fights down there too. So not bad. We got some potential here. So we'll see how it goes for next week. Do you wake up that early on an off day usually? No. I mean, I did wake up kind of early today. It's usually about 6 or 7 a.m. I just can't seem to sleep in anymore. But yeah, so I mean, 4 a.m. it's going to be kind of tough, but it's okay. I've done it before. It's all good. Anyway, that's it for me. Come back on Thursday for the preview of UFC Eljo versus Zalal. Where's that happening? I wonder if it's at the Apex. I bet you it is. Anyway, we'll find out. But yeah, that's it for me. Have a good rest of your week. We'll see you on Thursday. That's it for me. I'm out of here. Take it easy. Peace. Appreciate you guys.